You have a change of heart, wanna make a brand new start. You've been living on the edge with forever as a pledge. No more giving it up, turning me loose, setting us free. Baby, keeping it real, cause we got what takes for sure. There's no turning back anymore. Can you see it's all a game? Life goes on all the same. If at first you don't succeed, all you've got is all you need. If you believe, then stake your claim.
Hey, Rise and Thrivers. Welcome. Can you believe it's Monday night, June 23rd at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time? That's right. We are right in the middle of the summer solstice and we are Rise and Thrive together. So before we even get to tell you about who we are and what we're up to tonight for the topic, we're going to share really what we're about. We are a vibrant community committed to educating and empowering and equipping you to get the results that you want through real talk by taking real actions. That's right. Welcome. And here we are with my favorite hostess from the mostest, my sister from another mister, Raquel. What's up, sis? How are you today?
I feel really in this chair. Hey, Rise Who. We hope you're having a great Monday wherever you are and whatever you're doing. I feel really small in this chair.
Yeah, can you raise it up? Come in closer. Come and be intimate with us this evening.
I don't know. I just feel so tiny. But anyway, how are you?
Ooh, there's so much to talk about. The weekend was incredible. Really goes with the theme of the whole entire month, which you and I spoke a little bit offline about through voice texts. And we'll talk more about it next week as we finish it out. It was incredible and truly fits the theme, which I'm proud to say. Guess what it is, everybody? It is episode 112, Leading Out Loud. And we've got an incredible special guest, Brian J. And how do you pronounce his last name, Raquel? Quarles?
Quarles.
Perfect. Yes. Oh, good. I'm really excited. So yes, we're going to save that for next week, but it was incredible and truly kind of culminates everything that we've been talking about. How about you? How was your weekend?
The weekend we had a event, a Juneteenth event. So I was at the table in the hot summer and yesterday to do, but it was a lot of self-care yesterday. It felt good.
Nice.
Awesome. That
Awesome.
very often.
Great. We're having a little bit just to let everybody know if you're getting a little lag, but we're here. We're ready to go. Are you ready to just jump right into this extraordinary guest this evening? You tell me when you're ready, because you're going to introduce our guest today. Yes? I know that we are all ready to have this extraordinary guest with us today. One of Raquel's yes, some self-care is awesome. Self-care is fantastic. We are ready to introduce our guest. Are you ready, sis, to introduce our guest today? All right. We've got a little bit of a lag. I'm going to introduce the guest. This is one of Raquel's greatest friends who she has known for quite some time now. Let me introduce you to Brian J Quarles. He is a dynamic thought leader with a robust academic background, holding a degree in jurisprudence and a master's of business administration. He's highly sought after lecturer, sharing his expertise in law and business and ethics with audiences across the United States, Latin America, and Asia. A true problem solver, Brian has a proven track record of effectively safeguarding businesses, I can't speak tonight, from workplace strife and discrimination, regardless of their scale or industry. Beyond his professional achievements, Brian's adventurous spirit shines through as an avid traveler, having visited all 50 United States and every continent and over 35 countries. He has an incredible book that he has author of called Reduce Microaggressions and Increase Profits. And I am extremely excited to have Brian here with us, ready to bringing him on with Raquel. Hello, Brian. Nice to be here.
Hello. Nice to
Hi.
meet you. What's going on?
So happy to be here. Hey, Rack, are you back in? She's unsure. Well, it's all good. Very excited. This is my first introduction to you. So thank you for being our guest today. I know you have a long history and friendship with Raquel. So please go and share with the audience how you guys have met and what you'd like to say about our co-host.
Well, Raquel and I first met while we were professors in China at a university there. And from the moment that I met her, I recognized that there was a selflessness about her that I found unparalleled. The way that she was so giving of her time to students and anyone she felt that she could support. And I thought that was really remarkable, knowing all that she accomplished, that she was still willing to be selfless under those circumstances is just an attribute that I find very rare in today.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with you. She is spent many times in her profession now here in the United States. Blessed to have shared with her many other professionals that I look up to that have been special guests at her classes. So 100% agreed on that one. I know that, we've been having a lag issue lately with her computer, so I'm not sure. Raquel, let us know if you're with us.
I think so.
Okay, awesome. So feel free if you want to jump in. We just got to hear how Brian feels about you and your incredible impact that you had on him when you guys met in China. And how would you like to start off the show? Because this is a very special guest for us as Rise and Thrive Together, and especially for you.
Oh my gosh, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Bri is absolutely amazing, and I call him Bri because it's just, terms of endearment. An incredible human being. There's a genuineness about him that I absolutely appreciate. He puts on no airs. He is who he is, and he lets that be known. Just a very kind person. So I'm absolutely grateful and honored to call him my friend. Being.
Awesome.
Thank you.
All right, we get all this love,
Did we get to
of
read his
endearment.
bio?
I did.
What's
I
that?
did.
Okay, I was like, people need to know that this dude has visited all 50 states, which was definitely a goal that he had. All the continents he's visited and 35 countries. And he hasn't invited me to any, let me just say that. Throw that out there.
Okay. I'll take that under consideration.
No.
Oh, see, you guys will get a taste of what our friendship is like. But Brian is also an author. That's the bio, is that he's an author, and not just an author, he's a Amazon #1 bestseller. His book, Reduce Microaggressions and Increase Profits. So Brian is here to talk about, yes, leaders, but just microaggressions that take place in the work environment. So, Brian, pretend we don't know what microaggressions means. What is that? Like, that sounds really great. If I can reduce microaggressions, I can increase my profits. That sounds phenomenal. How do we do that? And what is a microaggression?
Well, great question. It makes sense to answer that as part of our discussion today. If permitted, I would like to unpack the idea of microaggressions through what I would label as busting some myths. I don't know if that's allowed on your show, but I think busting would be the best way of explaining what microaggressions are. And quite frankly, disabusing misconceptions about what microaggressions are and how they impact us.
Love it.
Can I engage in some busting here, some myth busting?
Yes, please do it. Open mic is yours.
Okay. Well, when I provided workshops in the past, I have quickly learned that there's a small percentage of the population that's actually aware of what the term means, and quite frankly, if they've ever heard the term before. So I'd like to start off with a question that I'd like to pose to see how familiar your audience is with the term. And the other idea to incentivize this, there are about 5 or 6 questions I have. To the lucky winner that has the highest score regarding these questions, I will provide an autographed copy of my best-selling book as a prize.
Wow. Thank you. All right, audience.
Nice. I don't even have an autographed copy.
Well, that can be achieved today if you are the highest scored during the activity.
Fantastic.
So,
Go ahead.
so can we start with the first question? I can read it, or if you can show it to the audience.
Sure. You ready? This is the one that I got for question number 1. Ready? Here we go.
Yes.
Go ahead. You can read it out loud, Brian.
All right. In which decade was the term microaggression coined? The answer choices are 1920s, 1960s, 1970s, 1980s, 2000s, or none of the above.
All right,
How long has
audience.
this term been around? Oh, sorry.
No. Go ahead.
How long has this term been around? Again, it's been popularized here most recently, but is the decade that the term was coined listed there? If so, answer correctly. And again, you're well on your way of earning a special prize of my presentation today.
All right, we've got one person right now putting it up here. I'm going to give in the chat. Genevieve Manzoni says none of the above. She's one that has written in here. Raquel, are you playing the game?
I think it would be, I have an unfair advantage.
Oh.
With this question, yes, she does. But does she recall the correct answer, even though she's seen it before?
Would you like to share the correct answer?
I'm going to opt for C.
All right, she's opting for C, 1970s, and I was going to opt for, it was funny, I was going to opt between C and D. So I'm going to go just for fun and take 1980s D. So we've got, oops, sorry, I had that question. So we got Genevieve Manzoni at none of the above, Raquel Stewart saying 1970s, Regina Rossi Lamont saying 1980s. And we're going to take another 6 seconds if anybody else wants to put their answer in. Going for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bri, what is the answer?
The correct, well, first let me say there's good news and bad news. The good news is that the correct answer was selected. The bad news, that was by Raquel, who probably recalled that from earlier. The correct answer is the 1970s. It was first coined by Dr. Chester Pierce. He's a Harvard psychiatrist who observed racial microaggressions who were inflicted upon students there on the campus of Harvard University. So we can see for more than 5 decades, this term microaggression has been with us.
Wow. All right. I was like thinking 1980s, and Genevieve said none. And Raquel, you got the first point. Awesome. All right. You ready for question number 2? Here we go, Brian. Ready to read it out loud? Here we go.
Microaggressions are best described as intentional verbal or behavioral indignities that communicate derogatory slights and insults toward members of a marginalized group. True or false?
All right. For our players out there who have just joined us, welcome to Rise and Thrive Together. We have a fabulous guest who, if you answer as many questions as you can correctly, can get a fabulous signed autographed copy of his book. So here is the question. Take a moment. And Genevieve is playing the game. She writes true. Raquel, do you have your answer?
I'll go false.
I was going to say false as well. So with that being stated, we're going to go for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Brian, what is the correct answer?
The correct answer is false, but it doesn't seem fair to award points for guessing. So those of you that chose false should offer an explanation as to why you believe the answer is false to be awarded points for this question.
So I'm going to.
There goes the professor.
So I'll go first by saying that it's not intentional, right? That it's, many people don't even really realize that they're even saying something derogatory or an insult toward a specific marginalized group. It's something that like they might have been brought up with, that's part of culture, even though they don't really realize how it impacts. So that's what I'm going to say.
Okay, thank you. Raquel?
Agreed. The word intentional.
Well, if that's all you're offering, then Regina should get the points because you've offered nothing substantive.
What?
You're just piggybacking. That's what we call that in the streets. We call it piggybacking. You haven't offered an answer that differentiates it from Regina's. So if that's all you have, Regina gets the point on that one. The idea, though, is that microaggressions can be both intentional and unintentional. But what we describe as well-intentioned offenders, for the most part, commit the microaggressions. Certainly, as I will discuss a little later, there are microaggressions that are conducted intentionally, but those fall in the minority of the types of microaggressive behaviors. So they are better described, quite honestly, as intentional and unintentional. It's not one or the other. Those terms really aren't mutually exclusive. So that would make
So
it probably the best.
trick question. But yes, for that. All right. So awesome. Raquel and I get one. Genevieve, keep on playing. All right. We're up to question number 3. Here we go.
Okay.
Interesting.
The question asked, was I subject to a microaggression by my classmate? It's true or false. I'm going to share anecdotes of my childhood, and then based on what I share, answer if you believe this is consistent and aligns with the definition of a microaggression.
Okay, we're ready.
The first example, I'm sorry, may I begin?
Yes.
Okay. Those of you that don't know, probably in the audience, no one does, that originally I'm from the southeastern part of the United States, growing up in the South. And I was about 10 years old, and I started a new school. And at this school, the students were predominantly white, Caucasians that were there. I was one of any students of color. And if you know anything about the South, there's a very famous food company called Brian Foods. And Brian Foods still exists today, and they produce meat such as bologna, hot dogs, sausages. I introduced myself to this student, we'll name him Timmy, and I told him my name is Brian. Timmy's response, hello, Wiener, my name is Timmy. Every day that I had class, he called me Wiener. I would come home, I was distraught, I was upset, I would share with my parents that I was called Wiener every day. He said, stick it out, those are things that happen at school, just tough it out. Was being called a wiener a microaggression? True or false?
Or false? All right. So audience, anybody playing Genevieve based on that anecdote about Brian's personal life when he was a child? Was that a microaggression by his? Yep. Let's see. And anybody else who's playing, we'll give it for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I don't see anybody putting an answer in the chat. I'm saying true based on the definition that I said before. Intentional, I feel like like as kids, how old were you?
10 years old.
So kids tend to like to make fun of one another. But and just thought it was funny. Raquel?
Genevieve says false.
No.
What? Genevieve said false because he did it intentionally. Anita said true.
Good.
And I'm going to say true as well.
Why?
There's a letter in the alphabet. Because you said it can be intentionally or unintentionally. And he didn't know what he was doing. So I think it was true. You were, there was microaggression against you.
Okay. I want to offer one additional anecdote, and it's still going to be true or false. And if I may, could we have Raquel answer first so that we can feel confident that she's answering genuinely and not being influenced by the other answers? Is that possible?
Fabulous. Since I'm co-host as well, I'm taking on leading out loud and saying your request is granted.
Okay. Thank you.
And Genevieve just wants you to know, Brian, that she's really glad she's learning.
Okay, good. That's part of this. So thanks for having me and thanks for sharing that feedback. All right, one additional anecdote is going to be, if you will, question 3 again. And same question, whether my classmate committed a microaggression against me. or more specifically, what was written, was a subject to a microaggression by my classmate. Basically the same situation. It is a different guy. We will call him Freddie because his name ends in long E like Timmy. But I was visiting with Freddie. Again, I'm 10 years old. And we were playing in his house. And he shared this with me. He said, Brian, I really like you. My mom likes you. And she said you could stay over and spend the night if you like, because you're well behaved, you're smart, and you're not like other Black kids.
All right, Dr. Raquel Stewart, you are first to answer.
I can repeat it if.
I'm going to say true. And I am not giving a reason. It is true. He just went the other way with it.
Okay. See, what we've learned here is that she adopts the answers and bases based on what she hears from others. When asked to do that on her own, she has no explanation.
But I don't need an explanation. He did it. It was just different than the others. He went the route of you're well behaved, you have manners, unlike other Black kids. Like, dude, you were going good till you said that part.
Genevieve said true as well. And since I allowed Raquel, that is really, I was like, wow, most parents, as a mom of an almost 9-year-old, I love, any child that's like, they say that often about my daughter, she's so sweet, she's so well behaved, she is so helpful. And my daughter is Black, but it's never finished with that sentence of like other Black kids. Like now you're in this big lump of, because all, like, oh, I didn't realize that can be that way. Right. So that's why I agree with Raquel and the truth. Like you throw in that other Black kids, like you're already absolutely giving a judgment and a prejudgment. And then this was like a surprise.
Okay, that makes sense. But wasn't it a compliment? I mean, to be told you're well-mannered, you're smart. Yes. I would accept that and did accept that at 10. And even now, because I don't often hear that now at my age, that is a compliment. Yep. And why would that be considered something that's been labeled as a snub or a cut or a snide remark to be complimented about my intellect and how well-mannered I am?
No, it was.
Any ideas?
Well, that's what I was saying. Like as having my daughter, like you're saying, but you're comparing them like to other Black kids, right? Like that's not expected. It was like sort of this kind of like, well, I don't expect this from other children that look of the same color skin. All was well, right? Like each and every human being. It's great. Let's raise our kids respectful and kind and helpful and smart. And then you're throwing the other Black kids. Then there's like this judgment she has about other Black kids, right? And surprise that, oh my God, I'm so glad you're this way. You can stay, but not these other ones. So that's how I took it.
Okay. Raquel, do you have anything to offer before offering an explanation?
No, I thought it was insulting. He came at you. I'm going to say it like this. He came at you sideways. He gave you the compliment, buttered you up, and then just came at you sideways talking about unlike other Black kids. So you already had that idea about me, but I showed you something different. So that compliment, you gave it and you took it away with the same hand.
Yeah, yep. I hear that. So let's talk about the two different anecdotes and why, quite honestly, one is and one isn't. So being called a wiener is not a microaggression.
It's not.
The second example is not a microaggression.
Oh.
And here's the basic reason is that, and this is where there's some controversy as it relates to the idea of a microaggression, because some some that oppose the idea of microaggression suggest that it promotes a thin-skinnedness, a hypersensitivity to garden variety insults that we all face our entire life. That's not true about microaggressions. The first one, being called a wiener, doesn't meet the definition, but let's talk about why the second one does, for probably obvious reasons. As Regina mentioned, and this is how the terminology works, the meta communication. What's the communication within the communication? What's the secondary communication or meaning associated with being told, you're smart, you're well-mannered for a Black kid? Well, first it suggests that it's atypical. Hey, the other Black kids I know, they're neither smart nor well-mannered. So you get a pass, buddy. And part of that suggests that this group identity of being Black is somehow inferior. The other part that's really not talked about a lot, but often happens, if you think about it, well, maybe I should pose this. Let's assume that I was really excited about the compliment I received that I was an atypical Black person. What do you think would be the natural consequence for me internalizing that, if you will, compliment for now? How would I move after hearing that? Any ideas, whether in the chat or from either of you? Said differently, if someone is suggesting to you that you're exceptional within your race, that you're atypical in your behavior, how do you think you'd likely respond hearing that?
I'm defensive. Like the minute, I was all good until that second part, and then I almost like I have to defend who I am. That's how it occurred for me.
Okay. Here's what often happens, and the research supports this, especially at young
And
ages,
for me,
but maybe it
I
actually.
think I would respond first.
That's true. Are you frozen, Raquel?
She's just lagging a little, so keep on going.
Maybe.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. No, that's very true. That certainly begs the question, how many Black people have you been around? But think of in the mind of a 10-year-old particularly. What likely or typically results is they distance themselves from something that's perceived as negative. So for example, if they're saying, hey, I'm an exceptional Black guy, I'm different than other Black people, why would that incentivize me to be around in what's labeled as inferior group of people? So oftentimes these microaggressions influence those that aren't considered part of this identity to distance themselves from that. Hopefully that part makes sense. It's an unintended consequence of the microaggression. It's not even something intended by the offender, but when you hear what's perceived as a compliment, then you want to continue to hear that. And if you then associate yourself with the group that's been labeled as inferior, then that's not something that you're going to gravitate toward. At least that's what the research has demonstrated.
Interesting.
All right. So the third question again about the wiener is not a microaggression. And let me share a little more details about the definition of a microaggression itself. A microaggression is a snide comment, a snub, an insult, and here's the key part, that limits our value and humanity. Being called wiener wasn't great, to be honest. I didn't enjoy that. But in some ways, it's kind of the garden variety incivility that exists as a youngster and that we still face today. But does it marginalize me based on who I am, based on my racial identity, based on other really immutable characteristics? It doesn't. So it's something I can move past, being called a wiener, but being a Black person is something I live with every day. And the other idea of this is that it's something that happens so regularly that it impacts our mental health. If you think about the impact and the harmfulness of microaggressions day in and day out, it chips away at our confidence. And again, the studies support that it also impacts our mental health adversely. You hear this day in and day out. But the key part of it is that it is related to our individual or group identity, whether it's based on gender or race or sexual orientation. Those ideas are something we live with that in some ways we're often proud to promote. And for those to be degraded impacts us adversely in ways being called a wiener doesn't. So hopefully it makes sense how we can differentiate being called a wiener from those other types of insults that go at the core of eroding who we are as individuals.
Absolutely.
Wow.
It was powerful. When you said the impact of humanity, right? Like the values and the core essence of who we are individually and then in like a human race, that's really where it was like, whoa.
And that's why, again, there's been a course of controversy about, well, microaggressions are no different than your ordinary civil insult, but they aren't for that reason that I just shared. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
That was actually very what's the word I want to say? That was profound.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, and I know we've got to start to wrap up, but we don't think of it in those terms, meaning insults that go at the core of who we are and impact humanity. I don't know how many people on here, drop it in the chat. Have you ever thought about microaggressions being that profound? That was great. I know what a microaggression is now for real.
Yeah.
And not just what I thought it was. So I truly appreciate you bringing this conversation. That Brian had more questions for everyone, and I do want to announce this. If we have to say a winner right now, Genevieve, girl, go ahead. You got 2 points. Because for the first one, you said false. And the second one, you said true with those 2 questions. So what say you, Mr. Esquire?
I definitely support that. I definitely support that. Your answers are disregarded because they weren't concluded on your own merit. So I think Genevieve also
My
the winner. Thank
answers
you
are
for participating.
disregarded because it came from me. That's why.
Is that a
Well,
microaggression right there?
it is not.
That's the wiener aggression, right? That's like the wiener
Exactly.
thing.
That's the wiener aggression.
All right,
Exactly right.
listen, I'm learning just like that. So that was
Good
like
job.
all the wiener, but not a microaggression. I love that. Yes, I would just say in general, Genevieve has played wholeheartedly. She got here on time.
Yes.
She even, if she got the questions right or wrong, the reason why we have guests, guys, the reason why we have Rise and Thrive together is out to educate and empower and equip you, right? And she shared, like she's learning, like she's in the conversation. She is here, present, and learning through this experience. There is a safe space to be, and Bri gives us that opportunity to stop and think, give us a voice that's leading out loud. It doesn't matter if we're right or wrong. We have somebody who really has put their heart and soul and their passion into this topic, has created this conversation for us. So just alone for that, I would love to say Genevieve, right? But here she's writing, woohoo! I didn't think I got any right, but woohoo! Like that. She is someone who is 100% ready to learn and grow. So Genevieve, on behalf of Rise and Thrive Together and the extraordinary author of the book, congratulations. You have won yourself not just the book, but how about a signed copy? And Brian, you stay on afterward. I have her address. You can mail that to her. That's amazing. Yay.
Thank you for participating.
But before we wrap this up, Brian, what's one thing one nugget that you can share with our audience as far as microaggressions? One, coming from if they're a leader, thing, whatever. How can so as a leader, how can you avoid
Mm.
microaggressions? What's a
Hmm.
nugget that you can drop?
Well, here's what I would share. I'm not certain it might be appropriately labeled as a nugget, but I would represent that or encourage a call to action in that, in some ways, the rule of law is being eroded in our country. And there's a saying that to sin by silence when we should object makes cowards of men. I'm encouraging and empowering people. If you have been a victim by a microaggression, to speak out. Your voice is your strongest weapon. And if we don't, then in some ways, not only are we complicit, but we are allowing in this this vile behavior to persist and spread. And my nug would be to evaluate the idea of what a microaggression is and empower yourselves to address the offender to stop this from spreading.
Wow.
What
Incredible.
I'd like you to do is
So
repeat that
I'm
one
taking away.
more
Me.
time. To to sin by silence when we should object. Finish.
To sin by silence when we should object makes cowards of men.
Mm.
I'm not the original. I modified it slightly, but that is a quote by a woman during the suffrage movement that encouraged men to support them in their right to vote. But I think that's equally appropriate and applicable based on what we're experiencing now.
I love it.
Genevieve
I
writes, I
absolutely
am
love
not
that.
silenced. She's writing, I'm not silent on purpose. I know Genevieve for a very long time, like you guys know each other. So this is a really, I would say, a personal learning curve for her. And she's writing back to say that I will always object if I feel an injustice.
There you go. I love that.
Thank you, Genevieve.
Awesome.
And that's a part of why I
Brian,
wrote
thank
the
you.
book, is to share my lived experience.
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
No, it's okay.
Oh, just one last idea based on what Genevieve said is that I recognize that it's not a term that a lot of people are well aware of. I thought it was important for me to share my lived experience that might not only resonate with other people, but empower them to address these offenders and, quite honestly, foster a greater understanding against these well-intentioned offenders so that we could curb these abuses.
Yes.
Absolutely. We love it. Brian, thank you so much for one, getting the time right, because I know you on the other
Thank you.
coast that we won't mention.
Right.
Thank you so much for being here. I am honestly, you took time to be a part of something that Reg and I built and that we both have such a love for, doing exactly what we do, which is empowering, educating, and equipping into day one. So it really means a lot. He got on camera. Otherwise, he does not do that. And joined us tonight. So thank you so very much. We truly appreciate it. And we appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, not ever do this alone. If you can't speak up for yourself, there's always someone who's willing to speak with you. But remember, it takes something. It takes us together is when we can rise and thrive. Till next time.